All right, let's go ahead and jump into the waiver wire and see what people were clamoring for this week. It was actually probably the lowest activity that we've had on the waiver run since the beginning of the season. The number one pickup was this DK off of is it Shimmeray? Shimmeray? I have no idea how you say it first name. I know it's DK.
Demire DK.
It's sure. We
He's
had
on my team, and I don't know how to say his name.
five bids on DK. Brock got him for $20. He had a pretty breakout game this past week. Uh, and he's a rookie for a young offense, young quarterback, one that has to improve. So why not take a chance on him? Um, and that's all there is to it. Really, I mean, in a dynasty, when you're not focused on plugging the holes on your current starting roster, you also need to be digging through the mine to find those nuggets that could come to fruition one day. And he's one of those guys that could do well. So
I thought A.O. Maynor was going to be the one in that offense that was the young guy. Obviously, Ridley was the veteran, but Ridley's going to phase out. Like he didn't even have that good a year. I thought A.O. Maynor was going to be the one, but he's kind of cooled, and it was DK with the big week. I was first going to bid $15, and I still would have got him. And then I decided 20 was probably going to be enough to get him, so I went with 20. It was probably a little bit more than I wanted to spend, but this was the first week, like you said, that there wasn't really that much out there, and I can maybe see that being a trend for the coming weeks, so where there's really not that much to spend on. So I figured, why not spend a little bit more? I'm almost out of free agent bucks, but I figured why not go get him and try to have a piece for the future. I don't think he really contributes this year for me in any way, but it's more of a future stash that I hang on to and see if he can produce in year two and be a guy that I can, count on down the road.
yeah. And then the other one was just Tyler Bidet that Greg picked up. He had he had a little bit of an increase in snap percentage. He's starting to like play a little bit more on that offense. He's by no means a starter. He's not even the backup, but I mean, whatever. He's still a young running back. He was kind of promising in his rookie years, things like that. So in a high powered Denver offense, why not take a piece of it? So I don't blame you, Greg. So especially with the state that your team's in, you might as well throw as many darts as you can. So
Yeah, nothing else to add there. He got a higher snap count, I think, this week. So why not take a shot?
yeah,
Because he's going to catch passes if he does anything.
right, right. Cool. Well, that does it for the waiver wire, and then we didn't have anything transpired really after that. A couple drops, couple pickups, nothing too crazy. You want to go
I
ahead and
think the
get
only
into?
one really other to touch on is that, and it's really not important because Sly Dog's out of the race, I think, but he did pick up Darnell Washington. I think that can be an all right play. I think he doesn't have any other tight ends to play this week, so I think that's not a bad plug and play for this week for him. And he's had more of a role. You would think he wouldn't with them having Janu and Fryermuth. You think he'd be more the blocking guy, but he has had a more of a pass catching role here recently. So, but it's still hard to trust because they have three tight ends. You never know which one is going to do what in a given week. So, but not
Right.
a bad pickup to plug in and play this week for Sly
No,
Dog.
don't blame him for it all, and might as well take a shot at it.
By the way,
Cool. That
Darnell Washington is a big human being.
large, large, an
Six
absolute
seven.
refrigerator.
He's like a tank. 6'7", 264. Like that is a and that picture is scary. If
That
you
is
ever have
wild.
time, extra time, go look up Darnell Washington.
That's
That
like
does not
that's
look
like
like that does not look like a 24-year-old human being right there.
that's literally
Oof.
like my bed running on a football field. That's wild.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that's crazy. Cool. Well, I guess we'll move on. What did we have in the mailbag this week?
You got it in front of you.
Well, let's go ahead. I think the one that we had submitted was um Shane. He said just our thoughts on who in the league needs to start making some trade moves before it's too late. Um, that to me means like what in a dynasty, you really have to commit to either you're a rebuilding team or you're there to compete. And so we are midway through the season, and the trade deadline is coming up. It's just around the corner, and so I really don't know what I can't speak for everybody on their thoughts of their own team. I can't tell you that you're competing or if you're rebuilding. So all I have to go off of is current record. And, I just kind of look at those that are either on the fringe of the playoffs or the ones that might make a move to the playoffs. And there's about three or four that I'd say are in that position to either get in the playoffs or lose. Because there's a couple of teams that are locked in. They look like they're going to be championship contenders, and a couple that they I just don't know if they'll be able to fight back from their record to start the year. So, and those in the middle, I'd have to say are, probably Pigskin Princess, myself, Lathan, and probably Dean. Those are kind of the four that floaters that it could probably go. And even Tidal Wave, he's actually put together a couple good wins, but there was a time where we thought that, he was going back down. He's kind of shown that he's thrown up enough points that he'll be okay. But yeah, and so I don't really know about trade wise. I have enough trouble finding my own holes and trying to pair them and repat. And I think I did enough for this year in terms of trading. So yeah, I think people that need to stay in contention might look in that. I If you want to give a name, I'll probably just say Lathan. He's on the downhill slope and things started looking good at the beginning of the season, but now that he's showing some weaknesses, he might think about, I don't know, changing it up.
I think my two on the outside looking in right now that have a chance to make the playoffs are you and Princess. I think you made your big trade already. I think Princess could benefit from a trade, but she already did the Jake Browning trade and lost her first rounder for next year. So I don't know how much, you know, with already losing her first rounder for this coming year's draft, I don't know what kind of trade she could put together. So that would be my two. The only other thing I'm going to add, since we're talking about trades, with you mentioning the trade deadline, I think now is, like I said earlier in the episode, you can see whether you are for sure a playoff team and you're trying to, compete for a championship. Maybe you need to bolster that roster to take it over the top, or you're in complete rebuild. As you like that back and forth, you see that? That
Back,
if you're
back.
1-6 and you totally need to rebuild, you might need to, sell off a old vet and get what you can as far as draft picks to build for the future. So just kind of individually, everybody's got to look at their team and decide what state you're in and figure out, especially in a dynasty, what is the best course that you can take to prepare your team not only for this year but for future years. So it's that time of the year, and I think everybody has to decide for their own team. And if you're in the middle of the road, you got to decide, well, shit, am I going to go for it and make a move to try to get there, or am I pretty much I might have a chance, but it's really not worth it, and I can build for the future. So everybody just as a reminder, trade deadline. I don't know the exact day, but it is in a few weeks, and just kind of decide on your team and what's the best route for you.
Yeah. Um, and then I guess the only other thing was your self submission of with his team sucking year in and year out, Mikey. How does he keep from crying himself to sleep at night? And I think the answer is he doesn't. I think he does cry himself to sleep at night during the day when he wakes up, when he's eating dinner, sitting on the john. He's probably constantly crying. I don't think he keeps himself from crying at all. So that's my
Mike,
question.
your 6-1 Yahoo team does not count. It does not count. I'm sorry. I didn't know they even still did Yahoo fantasy football.
Yikes! Yikes! All right. Well, I think that, and I guess the only other thing
Is
I
that
did
was a Yahoo league? Like I am correct that he showed us that it's on
probably,
Yahoo.
I
That
mean, I
doesn't
don't
look like it.
recognize it. I don't recognize it, so it probably is Yahoo or maybe NFL.com or something. It's probably Yahoo.
Speaking of, like, how Sleeper like totally took over like ESPN as a superior fantasy
Yeah,
app. Like
yeah. It
I was
it, it
not
was
big on
only like
Sleeper when we first started,
yeah,
and now it's like it's the superior app.
it is. All right. Well, the only other thing I forgot about until uh today was when Zoke was I don't know if this was like a submission, but saying the over under on 4.5 acquisitions or transactions of Jahan Dotson. And I'll put it this way, Zoe. He's mine. I don't even care if he's on somebody else's team. He's mine. He always forever. I can drop him as I please because nobody else has the right to pick him up. Jahan Dotson is BFF. Okay, uh, so whenever you think about trying to take him off my team, just you can't do that. You just can't. You can't do it. He's mine forever. You know, go Penn
I was
State.
totally expecting. I forgot you had that jersey. I was totally expecting it. I could tell right away it looked like a Washington jersey, but I figured it was Brian Robinson Jr. just because of having your last name on the back of it. I figured that's what you had gotten, but I forgot you had a Jahan jersey because
That
man,
would have
you
been.
were sold on he was better than Terry McLaurin.
Oh,
It was going to be the wide receiver in Washington for years and years, and now he is what the wide receiver three on the Eagles and never gets a look behind the first two receivers and Goddard. He gets what one target a game, tries to turn
sad.
it into something.
Just
But
sad.
he was your Penn State guy, wasn't he?
He
He
is
was.
my Penn State guy.
Is that why you liked him so much? Like, why did you take a liking to him so much? Because he came from Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember when I took Saquon Barkley like third overall as a rookie in redraft? Uh, and y'all called me nuts for doing that. I mean, kind of the same
Yeah,
thing. Or second overall, I think. Hadn't played a lick of NFL football yet, and I took him. Why do you think that I clung to Pat Fryermuth for 4 years in a dynasty and just didn't want to drop him until I was forced to? Yeah, that's yeah. There's many Penn State guys out there that I fall for too hard, and I just don't know how to separate emotion from logic.
yeah. We all have our faults as far as getting attached to players. I specifically have that in another league right now with Brian Thomas Jr. and Jameson Williams. But you take it to another level. You get you get addicted to certain guys, and
Oh yeah,
you can't control yourself, and becomes a fault. It becomes a fault, but you're a loyal guy. You show loyalty to your team, to your players, and then all of a sudden you realize that the ship has sailed. Unfortunately, you have not fully let go of the Jahan Dotson. Uh,
never.
but I do got to give you credit. You did finalize the divorce with Javonte Williams, and now you can't stop uh, crapping on him enough. So maybe Jahan's divorce, you and Jahan's divorce will be settled one day. But as of now, I just I'm happy that you're staying loyal to him. I guess good for you.
Yeah, that's what keeps us all going. Keeps us from crying at night like Mikey. So you got to have something to live
Yeah,
for. All right,
Mike, we
well,
love you. We love you, Mike. Just hang in there, buddy. Hang in there, buddy. We were very very high on your team to start the year. It just has not quite come together at 1-6. But we still love you, man.
let's go ahead and we'll do a week 8 matchup predictions. Let's go ahead and get through these, and then we'll do some bold predictions at the end. But again, we'll start with my matchup versus Greg. I've got me. Greg seems to be without a quarterback, and not just a quarterback, too, a quarterback. Bryce Young is probably not going to play this week. And so when you don't even have your quarterback spot filled, um, and then Genty is on by, Gibbs is on by, and Nico Collins is out with a concussion probably. You know, I get to play the likes of Woody Marks and Monongai and a hurt Ricky Pearsall and go to sleep well rested. I think I should come out ahead pretty handedly. So
You've gotten 2 weeks in a row where your opponent is just not gonna not gonna put up much of a fight. I expected more out of Schley this past week. Obviously, Greg is in a world of trouble this week, and you can, like you said, rest easy. You can focus on your other leagues this week. Set your lineup. You ain't even got to look at it. Like it's a win. I got you, and Greg, yeah, you're in trouble, man. You have no quarterback. You're two receivers, Mike Evans and who did I talk about earlier? Mike Evans and Nico Collins are both hurt. And wow, Jameer Gibbs is on bye along with
Jitty.
Ashton Genty. Like, you want to talk about a bye week hell? There ain't no reason to talk anymore. I got you. Move on. Let's go.
Okay. So next is you versus Scat Pack. You actually face a similar situation as Greg with your quarterbacks, whether they're on bye or they are Lamar Jackson and hurt. And there's talk that he might not play this week again. I did see we talked that he did come back to a limited practice Wednesday, but there's still a chance he doesn't play. And if he doesn't, you're absolutely losing this week, 100%. But even if he does play, I'm still giving the edge to Scat Pack. It's just he gets Josh Allen back, and then he just has like plus matchups across the board. I just think that, and that with your running back struggles, I'm gonna go with the Scat Pack to take you down this week.
Scat Pack over me. I think I've touched on your team enough. Scat Pack earlier in the rundown from last week. Your stacks or your Charger stack, your Eagles duo, your Giants duo. You get Josh Allen back. Like, I mean, at this point, I might as well just say this: the past 2 weeks, I've picked against me and I've won. I'm gonna pick against me again. I hope somehow it works in my favor again. I hope I'm 6-2,
Hedge in the
but I
bet.
don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Scat Pack over me.
Sweet. Oh, by the way, we both went 5-2 this
No,
past week, or
4-3. Four and
four and
three.
three, putting us at 25 and 25. We're both at 500, right? Or is that
Yeah,
what we
we're
keep?
both 25 and 25. We're both back to 500 after 4 and 3 weeks. So we have crawled out of
Geniuses.
the hole, and it's yeah. I hope we can. We need to hit like a 6-1 or 7-0 week. Like one of us
One time.
does to get yeah hit it one time. Like I feel like we're at a casino. We're at the blackjack table, and we have in Merch's words, it's a grind, man. And
And we fought our way
or
back.
who does he say that or does Zoke say that? One of them says that. You just got to
Um,
keep grinding. You just got to keep grinding.
they probably all
And
say that.
we have grounded out. We have officially got back to even, and it's time to make a run and start stacking the chips up in front of us. And I think hopefully one of us, at least one of us, can do that. But yeah, I don't even know who the hell we're on. What matchup are we on?
Uh, we just did you versus Scatback.
Yeah, next. There's no reason to talk about it. I'm
Um,
over it.
Next we have Merch Luck versus Stall. I've got Merch. Plain as day, I just like his players more. I look at his players and I look at Stall's players, and I'm on his side all the way. You know, Jamar Chase after 23 targets this time facing the New York Jets, who are their defense isn't as good as they were supposed to be. Um, and then across the way, whenever you're facing like Jerry Judy, Xavier Legette, a couple tight ends, and then Hollywood Brown, it's just Merch should get by this one pretty easily.
You got fantasy studs on one side and just a lot of just guys on the other side, and it looks like a lopsided matchup. You never know what can happen on any given week. But even with Trevor Lawrence out and having to start Dylan Gabriel as a second quarterback, there's just too much talent. James Cook is back from his bye week. Yeah, it's just too much talent on Merch's side right now. I think he's pissed off after last week. I think he's going to get the troops fired up and have a big week. Merch in a landslide.
We'll go ahead and move on to Pigskin Princess versus Louie. I'm gonna go with Louis here. Again, a lot of these matchups are just pretty straightforward. So like for one, Pigskin Princess, of course she hasn't set her lineup yet, but she's found herself in some deep running back trouble for bye weeks. So Kyron Williams and ETN are both on bye. So she's having to start a Gainwell, who isn't even the starter in Pittsburgh anymore, now that it's Jalen Warren. And then after that, she lost Kendre Miller for the season. Um, and so she's got Ray Davis, she's got Sampson, or she could go ahead and dig out of her taxi squad and Devin Neal, who's the next man up in New Orleans. So she could go ahead and utilize that, see if she gets some points from there. But even if when she fixes her running back room, when you're facing the likes of Rashee Rice, Bijan Robinson, Baker Mayfield, who should have a bounce back day, Louis got this one in the bag.
I agree. Louis, I got Louis winning. Bijan, we touched on this earlier. Like Bijan, Rashee Rice, like there's just some guys that have some absolute firepower. This is still with Puka out. He's on bye this week, so that doesn't matter. Jay Louis actually has some guys on bye. David Montgomery, I mean, that's not a huge deal, but he is still a guy that you can have as a starting running back. The best thing that might have happened to Louis is Gino goes on bye, so he doesn't have to feel like he has to play Gino. He can plug in a Dalton Schultz and probably get more points than what Gino can provide. Jay Louis for the win. Just too much. Yeah, just too much. Too many guys on that side that are going to put up numbers. Pigskin Princess will not be able to keep up, especially with her bye weeks that she's going to have with her running backs. Jay Louis.
Jay Louis. All right, let's go ahead and move on to C Mike taking on Tidal Wave. Again, these matchups are just pretty straightforward this week. Tidal Wave, and a lot of it has to do with bye weeks. I get that. A lot of it has to do with injuries, but Tidal Wave takes home the win here with C Mike. Jalen Waddle, Jonathan Taylor, the Denver stack, and Drake May, at the QB2 position. And then Mikey is just, he's already got his two tight ends set out there. He's got your aforementioned
He's
Io
rolling with
Manor
it.
out there. Travion Henderson is still going to just do some work for him in that spot. Yeah, and then just I don't know, just it's not going to be competitive. That's for sure.
I agree. Mike, I don't know what his record was when Bucky Irving went out, but when he Mike didn't start the season off well record wise, and then when Bucky Irving went out, it was just kind of like the dagger that like he couldn't recover from. Like his team, they're still like I look at Mike's team compared to the other teams that are at the bottom of the league, and I like his team the most out of like the bottom feeders. But right now it's just like Travion Henderson, not going to get you anything. A.O. Maynor in that offense, you can't really consistently rely on. Your two tight ends are good. Like they're good tight ends, but the double tight end, we've mentioned this a lot. It's just not our favorite way to go. So I got Tidal Wave. Tidal Wave's been putting up points. He is back over 500. He's on a roll. Think he's won 3 in a row, 3 weeks in a row because he was sitting at 1-3 with you. So he's won 3 in a row and he's gonna make it 4 in a row this week. So tidal wave over Mike.
Yeah. Next matchup we have is Money Muscle and Mason. This is the one that isn't like the other ones. I do think that this one ends up very, very close. Um, I do have a bold prediction for this later, but Mason will beat Money Muscle. I think those two running backs still just keep going on a tear, and then he gets enough points from everybody else that'll just kind of handle it. And it's they're both going to be high scoring. It's going to be a super high scoring, but super close. So neither team is going to falter too much. It's just going to come down to just a couple points here or there. So I've got Mason over Money Muscle.
Oh yes, sir. This is a tough one. This is the tough one of the weekend. I think that they both have some iffy spots towards the bottom of their rosters or their starting lineups. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba being out is a huge blow. Is Brock Purdy back this week? Let's see what it says.
He's still questionable.
Ooh, and he does not have another. That's tough. That makes it a tough decision. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba being out and Jaden Daniels being out. So I really actually I do have a bold prediction as far as this matchup too, and it has to do with the backup quarterbacks that they're both starting. But when you're starting a backup quarterback, it's like you're just not going to get quite the same production as. So my bold prediction, I'm just going to say right now, so it makes sense. I think the two backup starting quarterbacks, the backup quarterbacks that are starting this week in this matchup, Mariota and Tyrod Taylor, I think they both have good weeks. Like I think they both have good weeks. Tyrod Taylor is playing an awful Cincinnati defense. I think his rushing ability against that defense, how bad that defense is, I think he can put up numbers. And I think Mariota is serviceable. Like he's not Jaden Daniels, but they're going to be playing catch up probably against the Chiefs, so he's going to be throwing it. He has rushing ability as well. Like I think both of those quarterbacks put up numbers, but when you're missing, like you still can't rely on Marcus Mariota to be Jaden Daniels, and then you have Jackson Smith and Jigba out. I think Mason squeaks by Money Muscle in a very very close matchup.
I'll go ahead and
McCaffrey
give my,
right now, McCaffrey right now is on a whole another level. Like he is on a whole another level. I think he has another really really good week, and I think Mason squeaks out a victory. But this is going to be a tight one. This is probably your matchup of the week here.
it is the match of the week, and I'll go ahead and give my bold prediction that I mentioned, so it makes sense right now too. But both of Zoke's quarterbacks are playing on Monday night, and I believe that
Oh yeah,
I believe that Zoke will be winning, and he will lose on Patrick Mahomes' kneel downs at the end of the game. That's how close it's going to be.
it's very possible, and it's also very possible. I don't want to steal your bold prediction, but like it's possible the Commanders are trailing and they have a drive at the end of the game, and that Mariota's throwing it, and he also throws an interception that could cost Soak, and then the Chiefs get the ball back, and you're so I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that that could be a heartbreaker because I think it's going to be that close of a matchup. The tops of their like they have some good players to match up, and then they have some duds like Spears against Hutchinson, Tyron Tracy against Kareem Hunt. If Brock Purdy plays, I could see Mason winning by more. If he doesn't play, yeah, it's a toss up because uh, Mason really doesn't have. Well, I guess he has a few guys that he could. Nothing like super confident. There's actually I won't say what I was about to say because I don't want to give too much advice, but I don't want that to. I don't want to say what. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. But it's tight, man. It's tight. I got Mason though. I got Mason in a real close one.
Let's go ahead and cover our last matchup of the week, Schlydog versus Dino. I think this is going to be a close one too. Not as high scoring and not as fun to watch as the this last matchup, but I do think it's going to be super super close, and it's going to come down to each player's two main running backs, Derrick Henry and Kamara versus Barkley and Jacobs. Because if you look at the other positions, they're kind of matched up. Like Sly's playing Algier while Dean's playing Darnell Mooney. And so that's kind of like two pieces, same offense. One is playing Tez Johnson, the other one's playing Sterling Shepard, two receivers from Tampa Bay. And, kind of sub average quarterbacks flying off against each other. But there is one guy who has a absolute game breaking stud in fantasy, and that is Schley with CD Lamb. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give the edge to Schley Dog, because he has that ace in the hole that can put him over the top.
You kind of took the words out of my mouth. It is not a good matchup in Denver, but that Cowboys offense is rolling so much right now. Like no matchup scares me. Like it's they are absolutely lighting it up, putting up points all over the place. I don't think even a matchup in Denver bothers me. Like as far as CD Lamb putting up really really good numbers this week. I hate doing this. Hate doing this. I don't like us picking all seven of the same teams. But I got Sly Dog. I got Sly Dog.
It happens.
Maybe this might be the week where we both go 6-1 or 7-0, and we really turn our prediction pick 'em record around. I got Sly Dog, but yeah, this is probably the other closest matchup of the week right here, or closest, yeah, I guess closest matchup for this week. I think Caleb Williams and DJ Moore could be a sneaky stack this week in Baltimore because that Baltimore defense is vulnerable against the pass. They're vulnerable against everything, honestly, but I think Caleb Williams and DJ Moore could also have a big week. I also just Dean, the bye week is just it's catching up with you this week with the Rams stack on bye, Cooper Kupp's on bye, Trey McBride's on bye. Like that's just a lot to overcome. So I just think you're gonna have a hard time pulling this one out. But I think it's close. I got Sly Dog.
Sweet. Well, that does all of our predictions for matchups coming this week. So don't let us down, guys. Win or lose, how we predicted you, and we'll come out on top together. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I guess
but Scat Pack, you can let us down on our prediction. So I can run my record to 6-2. Like if anybody wants to let us down on our prediction, Scat Pack, you be the man. You go for it.
all right. Well, I guess we'll end this episode on our bold predictions as always. We just each gave one in terms of that matchup. You got any more?
You got any more?
Well, I always got my Thursday night first TD of the game. Um, I think that the beast out of nowhere keeps the ball rolling, and old Arande Gadsden gets the first touchdown of the game tomorrow night. And to make it even more bold, it it definitely won't happen in the first quarter, and it probably won't happen in the second quarter. I think this is going to be the first touchdown is going to happen in the second half of the game to Arande Gadsden. So,
I hope he does because I have him in another league. Just picked him up in Farmers. So I got to start him. I hope he has a good week. Let me just, I'll expand a little bit more on my other one that I already said. I think Tyrod Taylor scores over 20. I think Marcus Mariota gets close to 20, which obviously, like I said with Zoke, like when you're starting Jaden Daniels, you're hoping for even more than that. But I think that might not seem that bold, but I think for two backup starting, or for two, I keep saying backup starting, for two backup quarterbacks that are now starting, like if you get close to 20-ish out of that, I don't think that's a bad thing. And for both of them to do it, I think that happens. So that's my first one. You know, I don't even know. I sometimes I like to do who's going to score the most points in a week. There's a lot of teams that could go off this week. I don't really know who I would pick there. I think tomorrow night, you said low scoring. I think tomorrow night's going to be a fun, high scoring game. I think it's going to be a fun, high scoring game. I think Justin Herbert scores a rushing touchdown as the first one tomorrow night. I think he
ooh,
rushes one in.
I like
I
it.
think it's
I
about
like
I think it's about a 10-yard scamper. First touchdown of the game. Think he gets the ball rolling.
Dude,
Who the hell knows though? Like
Justin Herbert doesn't scamper. He gallop.
well, okay. He's a galloper. I think he
I
gets in the
just
end zone, but
I only have one more, and it's just a sneaky suspicion. And it kind of pairs with your Marcus Mariota, but I think Jalen Lane finally has like a this coming out party against the Chiefs. We'll go with like 4 for 98 and one for Jalen Lane this week.
so you're telling me to start him?
I'm not telling you to do whatever you can do whatever you want. I just have a sneaky suspicion that He gets it cooking this week.
If I start him, does that change your prediction on me beating Scat Pack?
No.
uh, that's all I got. That's all I got. I'm gonna stick with just predicting the backup quarterbacks. There was some other stuff that I looked at earlier. I guess the other one that I could throw out there is, and I kind of already touched on that too. I think Caleb Williams and DJ Moore in that Schlydog matchup. I think Schlydog upsets Dean this week with Dean having a lot of buys. We already said that, and I think part of the reason is Caleb Williams to DJ Moore against that Baltimore defense. I think they go off. Like I'm not even going to give specific numbers, but I think they both have good weeks. So I guess that would be my other one.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. We'll see how all the matchup plays out. Everybody have a great time listening to this episode and a great week. Start with your Thursday night, and we'll catch you next time. All right.
Adios.
Adios.